Wakana Gojo was an introverted boy with no friends and spends his time making Hina dolls. His life takes a turn when the hottest girl in his school asks him if he can help make her a seductive cosplay outfit, which leads to difficult situations between them in the future. A young Wakana is shown the Hina dolls made by his grandfather Kaoru and his friends, and Wakana is enchanted by them. This prompts him to make his own Hina dolls, but his friend criticizes his passion for dolls, saying it's meant for girls, and ends their friendship. In the present, Wakana is awakened by the sound of his phone alarm. As he goes downstairs, Wakana wishes good morning to his grandfather and offers a prayer at the altar dedicated to his parents and grandmother. While breakfast is being prepared, Wakana discusses with his grandfather about how he burdens himself with work late at night, a comment that Wakana brushes aside. It's mentioned that while Wakana lacks skills in creating doll faces, his costumes are remarkable. The discussion then shifts to whether Wakana has any friends, and he quickly states that he does. They are just all occupied with their own activities. Later, Wakana goes to school and privately admits to himself that even in high school, he doesn't have any friends. The primary reason for this is his fixation on Hina dolls, which isn't a shared interest among his classmates. While Wakana reflects on his inadequacies, Marin unexpectedly falls backward onto his desk, hitting her head against it. After apologizing for the mishap, Marin notices some black ink on his left arm, assuming it might be a cut. Slightly flustered, Wakana replies that it's fine, even though it isn't, but Marin comprehends and departs. Wakana then thinks about the ink on his arm and realizes his envy of Marin, noticing that there are many personality traits she possesses that he does not. At the front of the classroom, Noah recounts a story involving herself and Marin. It turns out that they had their hair styled the day prior, and when a guy attempted to flirt with Marin, he insulted her looks and called them lame, to which Marin fired back that he was lame and left the salon, leaving him disheartened. In her defense, Marin argues that the guy misunderstood her and shouldn't judge her based on her interests. Wakana, who hears their conversation, is struck by the realization that despite living in different worlds, he shares a connection with her. After school, Wakana remains behind to place the chairs on their desks and is shortly accompanied by Marin, who assists him since she has cleaning duty that week. Curious about his presence, Marin inquires if someone pressured Wakana to do that work, and he admits it reluctantly. He expresses that he was told he is so dependable that he feels obliged to agree to it. Marin contends that they don't view him as reliable. Instead, they believe it's easy for them to take advantage of him for menial tasks. She continues to say that he should assert himself more and resumes her work. Later that night at home, Wakana cuts his hand, and while his grandfather fetches a band-aid for him, he reflects on what Marin mentioned to him earlier that day. He then realizes that the sewing machine he had been using was not functioning properly. Wakana informs his grandfather, who returns with a band-aid, about this issue. And his grandfather mentions that they will need to purchase a new one. Feeling disappointed about not having a sewing machine to work with, Wakana suddenly thinks of using the one at his school. The next day, he operates the sewing machine in the sewing practice room and is impressed by how user-friendly it is. While he is captivated by his doll's head, Marin suddenly walks into the room, creating an awkward silence between them. During this moment, Wakana almost drops his doll's head and talks to it, only to realize that Marin saw and heard him, which makes her glare at him. Believing that his situation is hopeless, he is surprised to find that Marin actually appreciates his ability to use a sewing machine. Moreover, Marin praises the Hina doll head that Wakana carries, which brings him joy internally. When Marin asks if he made it, Wakana replies that his grandfather created it and that he only excels with costumes. Upon hearing this, Marin begins to take off her clothes to show him the black outfit she has been working on. After presenting an example of what she was trying to replicate, Wakana unintentionally comments on the outfit curtly, which hurts Marin's feelings. Apologizing earnestly to Marin, she forgives him and mentions that she made her outfit as a tribute to a character named Shizuku-tan. Since she lacks a sewing machine at home and feels her sewing skills are insufficient, she pleads with Wakana to create her outfit for her. Touched not only by her earlier compliment, but also by everything she said that resonated with him, Wakana agrees to assist Marin, while admitting that he has never made clothing for a person before. This news fills Marin with joy, as she offers to help in any way she can and shares the character's backstory, which annoys Wakana. Wakana admits to Marin that he has never heard of the dating sim Slippery Girls 2, prompting Marin to provide him with a summary of the series. As Marin describes the series to Wakana, he becomes uncomfortable with the mature elements involved in the game's plot and mechanics. Internally, Wakana feels confused as he struggles to understand what Marin is trying to explain to him. Suspecting that this might just be some kind of joke, Wakana realizes that Marin is completely serious about the game's details. Returning to Marin, she proceeds to share her enthusiasm for the character she aspires to cosplay, Shizuku-tan. When Marin inquires if Wakana understands her, he internally thinks that he doesn't have any idea. However, he does come to observe that when Marin talks about something she enjoys, she seems to genuinely be having fun. After Marin finishes her explanation, Wakana poses the question of whether Slippery Girls 2 is an Arrow game. Marin confirms that it is, and Wakana then asks whether the game has age restrictions, but Marin pretends not to know. He then questions why she enjoys a game aimed at a male audience, but Marin insists that many females do, and that gender doesn't matter when you truly enjoy something. Marin's phrase triggers an unpleasant old memory for Wakana, but instead of feeling discouraged by it, he agrees with Marin. To assist Wakana with his project, Marin takes out a beginner's guide to creating cosplay outfits. They decide not to start on any tasks, like gathering necessary supplies and measurements, as it is getting late. At home, Wakana's grandfather Kaoru expresses his surprise at how early he's gone to bed and mentions that he won't be opening the shop the next day to buy a new sewing machine. Going over the book again, Wakana is startled by a particular detail he discovers in it. The next morning, Marin arrives at Wakana's house, and after bringing him a cheesecake offering, she barges in and heads directly to Wakana's room. As Marin shows interest in the brushes he uses for his dolls, Wakana experiences an anxiety attack because a girl is in his room. Regaining his composure, Marin brings him back to reality and asks if he wants to get started. Marin expresses a desire to begin with the measurements. However, Wakana prefers someone else to help her with that, since she will need to be in her underwear for it. Thinking ahead, Marin reveals that she wore a two-piece bikini for the occasion. Nevertheless, Wakana still feels uneasy about Marin's appearance and becomes annoyed when she touches him. From that point, Wakana encourages himself to take Marin's measurements, but is taken aback by her appearance. While she is facing away, Wakana inquires if she feels uneasy just wearing her swimsuit, to which she replies that she is not bothered and is focused solely on the cosplay outfit. Hitting his face hard with both hands, Wakana pushes himself to finally begin the measurements. After finishing, Marin asks about appropriate shoes, as most she tries cause her discomfort. To this, Wakana assumes that the issue lies with her foot circumference and tries to fetch a chair for foot measurements, but Marin insists on sitting on his futon instead. In spite of his objections, Wakana gives in to Marin's requests and takes her measurements from that position. The next measurement they take is Marin's bust, which creates an awkward situation for Wakana. Once that is done, Marin proposes measuring her inseam and bust point. Again, Wakana outright refuses to do it, and after another uncomfortable moment for him, Marin suggests she will measure herself. The outcomes of the measurements leave Wakana extremely shocked for reasons he describes as unclear. Writing down the final measurement, Wakana gets ready to take the last measurement, and during this, he notices Marin blushing and concludes she feels too warm, prompting him to leave to turn on the air conditioning. By the day's end, all measurements have been completed, and Wakana requests from Marin references for the character outfit she desires. In response, Marin provides Wakana with both games as references, and becomes flustered when he sees her still in her old outfit. Later that evening, Kaoru discovers Wakana engaged in one of the games and attributes it to his age, but is surprised to see that he is taking notes.
Wakana dreams of Marin wearing her completed cosplay costume. It begins innocently, but soon Marin starts to embrace the character's Arrow persona. Awakening from the dream in a cold sweat, Wakana notices something, looks at his doll head, and asks her to turn away. At school, Wakana ponders how he will face Marin again, and coincidentally, she walks down the hall with Noah while others compliment her. Trying to avoid her gaze, Wakana is still seen by Marin, who approaches him and expresses her gratitude for his help on Saturday. Inside Wakana's mind, he becomes increasingly flustered due to his dream about her and the mixed feelings contradicting his affection for the doll head. Marin then proposes that she curl her hair that day, and they are soon joined by her friends Noah, Daya, and Runa. One of the friends suspects that Marin is making Wakana uncomfortable, but Marin asserts that she is not invading his space, resulting in a small stir between them. The girls then head off to a vending machine, while Wakana thinks that Marin treats him similarly to how she does when they're alone. He overhears some girls discussing how Wakana could be her boyfriend, but that idea is swiftly rejected. Later, Marin attempts to arrange a meeting with Wakana, but he declines outright. This kicks off a pattern where Wakana steers clear of Marin all day until school ends, when Marin finally catches up to him and invites him to go shopping. Once more, Wakana rejects her, and quickly departs. Squatting by a bend near the train station to avoid Marine, she unexpectedly shows up behind him. She chastises him and demands an explanation for his strange behavior around her all day. Wakana confesses that it feels awkward being near her when they aren't friends, but Marin confidently responds that they are already friends. He mentions overhearing a few people suggesting they are in a relationship, to which Marine playfully suggests they might as well be, leaving Wakana flustered. After revealing she was joking, Marine takes hold of Wakana's arm and pulls him along to go shopping. While visiting a hobby shop called Yuzuwaya, the two linger in the cosplay section as Wakana hands Marine the notes he made regarding the character she wants to embody. He details what they need to create it and offers advice on execution. They first select the fabric based on what best represents the character's background. Although the fabric he has chosen is expensive and he currently lacks funds, Wakana is surprised to learn that Marin has money to cover the costs. Despite his initial reluctance, Wakana accepts the money to help create her outfit. They continue shopping at the location, and once they finish, they go to a store named Swallowtail that specializes in wigs. Surprised by the variety of wigs available, Wakana is amazed by the different colors and styles they offer. The two then discover the wig that Marine wants to wear, but Wakana proposes choosing purple, since Shizuku-tan's character is associated with that color. Additionally, Wakana feels that this color would enhance her appearance better, and Marine is taken aback by the depth of Wakana's analysis. Wakana suggests they select a deep violet wig with a long length that could be cut to fit Shizuku-tan's asymmetrical bob hairstyle. Consequently, Marin states that she will have her hairstylist trim it for her and mentions that she is relieved she didn't shop alone. Otherwise, she would have bought the wrong materials for the costume. As Marin goes to pay for the items they've chosen, Wakana feels thankful for being of help. After they finish their shopping at the wig store, they proceed to their last stop, the lingerie shop, to buy some garters and stockings. Compelled to assist Marin with this segment of the shopping trip as well, Wakana finds himself waiting outside the changing room. It is here that Marin playfully teases Wakana, making him feel quite uncomfortable. By the evening, the two enjoy ramen together, and as they leave, a woman observes them with envy, remarking on how young and in love they appear while she has to work. They walk past the woman and discuss Wakana's progress in Slippery Girls, which irritates both her and the others in line. As they make their way home, Wakana mentions that he will take the materials home with him and inquires if there are specific places to wear the costumes. Marin responds that there are many venues, particularly at events or in one's own home, and then provides examples. One example is Juju-san, a well-known figure who, despite never attending events, is extremely popular. Continuing her interest in cosplay, including male and female cosplayers, Marin asks if Wakana is alright since he hasn't said a word. In his defense, Wakana admits he was reflecting on his own fascination with Hina dolls and how it started. This leads Marin to remark that Wakana is such a face guy because he appreciates the faces of the Hina dolls the most. Wakana apologizes, acknowledging how challenging it is for him to articulate his thoughts regarding appearances, but Marine assures him that it's all right. They keep walking until Marine notices a food truck that sells meat-wrapped onigiri, and Marine buys one for herself. As they keep walking, Marine savors her food, and Wakana attempts to reimburse her for the food they had enjoyed previously, but Marin declines as it was her treat. She also admits how shocked she was when Wakana not only participated in the Slippery Girls game, but also made such detailed notes for the cosplay character. Marin then offers a piece of her food, but he declines, and as she begins to finish it, she inquires if he thinks she tends to overeat. Breaking into a cold sweat, Wakana refutes the idea, but Marin is aware and proceeds to rant about her size to a flustered Wakana. Near Ikeburo Station, Wakana discovers that Marin intends to go to an event 2 weeks from that day, which leaves Wakana utterly amazed. Distraught over the reality that he has 2 weeks to finish the cosplay costume of Shizuku-tan, Wakana reflects on all of this while he travels home by train. Upon arriving home, Kaoru welcomes his grandson and is happy to learn that he was shopping with a friend. However, he becomes irritated and tips over one of the bags, unveiling that it contains a pair of women's stockings, which causes him to fall back in shock. This incident leads him to visit the hospital for treatment, and while he waits in the waiting room, Wakana's cousin Miori shows up. Wakana tells her about their grandfather's situation, and he soon arrives to join them. After taking a seat, Miori suggests that Kaoru stay at her house during the 2 weeks he requires to recuperate. Wakana supports that idea, asserting it would be for the best, which leaves him responsible for overseeing the shop. Kaoru agrees to the suggestion, and when Wakana promises to bring him an extra set of clothes the next day, Kaoru also asks for his brushes. A few days later, Wakana explains to Marin that his absence from school the previous day was due to his grandfather's accident. Sorrowful about his grandfather's condition, Marin offers to assist him with cooking and other tasks. Wakana, however, turns down the offer, prompting Marin to propose that they exchange contact information to keep in touch. Silently, Wakana consents. And after they do this, they stroll down a hallway while Wakana contemplates how he hasn't started making the costume. Marin then notes that her hairstylist was able to cut the wig into the style she desired, and she'll give it to him later that day. They pause at a bulletin board that announces the upcoming midterms, complicating Wakana's plans for the next 2 weeks. Brought back to reality by Marin, the two proceed forward as Wakana acknowledges the predicament he's in. That evening at home, Wakana gets a call from a person who requests a tour for herself and a friend visiting from France. At first, Wakana declines to conduct the tour on Saturday, but since the friend can only make it that day, he succumbs to the pressure and agrees. For a while, Wakana finds himself in a difficult situation trying to meet all of the commitments he had made. At the conclusion of the exams, Wakana, looking weary, rushes out of the classroom, completely overlooking Marin. That evening, she comes to his house to present him with a beef bowl gift, but notices that all the lights are off, and concludes that he must be spending time with his grandfather. In truth, Wakana was in his room lamenting about his recent lack of sleep and how he has not been able to finish the dress. While gazing at his brushes, Wakana remembers a moment when his grandfather explained to him why he brings his brushes on his trips. Wakana also broods over his lackluster brush skills and reflects that just because you love something doesn't guarantee you will excel at it. Feeling downcast and emotional about his recent shortcomings, he recalls another memory where his grandfather imparts thoughtful advice about the importance of working hard on something you love, as it is worth it. Reminiscing about some pleasant moments with Marin, Wakana pulls himself out of his gloomy state and resumes working. And by morning, he texts Marin to inform her that he has completed the costume. Later, Marin views the finished product and is amazed by it, but she states that she hadn't planned on going to the event that day, despite Wakana's dedication to finishing it. Disheartened by this news, Marin genuinely apologized to Wakana for giving him the wrong impression and not being clear about the details. In spite of everything, Wakana actually feels relieved by this, but Marin weeps, believing he was visiting his grandfather, and again expresses regret for her errors. To lift the mood, Wakana proposes that Marin try on the finished outfit to check if any modifications are necessary. Regardless of her reluctance to do so, Wakana persuades Marin to proceed with it. The first thing Wakana does is comb and tie Marin's hair into a bun, then they shift their focus to her eyes. Extra fake eyelashes from Wakana's store are utilized, and without hesitation, Marin trims her own eyelashes to better fit the cosplay. Makeup is then applied, and Wakana steps out of his room to allow Marin to change into the costume. The final outcome is that Marin is thrilled with how amazing she looks in the outfit and that she can be Shizuku-tan.